Hi everyone. It's now been 5 days since I got back from Dilley, and I thought it would be a great idea to give a fresh run through now that I've gotten over the initial secondary post traumatic stress um, disorder that most volunteers undergo as a side effect of volunteering there at Dilley. I think it's rather important for everyone to know that um, once I got on the plane and flew out of San Antonio, I felt like an elephant um, was taken off my shoulders, or rather, I felt like I had taken in a breath. I didn't realize that I had been holding my breath for the 5 days that I was there. And I cried. I literally cried on the plane. And I don't know if it was tears of relief, tears of frustration, definitely, and tears of guilt, because I felt like I was leaving a lot of women behind and a lot of work undone. And for that reason, I'm telling you right now, I will be back. I'm planning on going back October 10th, as a matter of fact. But there were several points that I wanted to make before I forget. I wanted to make as they're fresh in my mind. I want people to know that the women and children that are being held at Dilley are asylum seekers, people who are refugees seeking to be designated that title, refugee, here in the United States. These are people who have fled countries where there are no functioning governments as we know it. In these countries, drug lords run the streets. They flee corrupt politicians who see no problem suppressing a woman's right to vote, much less allow a woman to participate in the electoral process. There have been mass graves discovered throughout Central America, with numbers as small as 8,000 and numbers as high as 100,000 estimated women who have disappeared and have been found in these mass graves along the border and the surrounding countries of Central America. The problem is so bad that in some places they have women-only buses so that women can ride the bus to and from work without being assaulted, molested, or disappeared, which is the verb use of the word disappear. That they've created this word in the Spanish language, los desaparecidos, the disappeared. They've created these buses so that the women don't become desaparecidas on their way to work. They are fleeing drug lords who've fallen in love with their 9-year-old daughters, drug lords who wish to conscript or pull into the draft of the war on drugs for their 9-year-old sons, drug pushers who want to steal their babies, remove their organs, and use that baby to hold bags of drugs to cross over the borders. Please don't let anybody fool you into thinking that the United States is a participant in the roles in the lives of these people, because the war on drugs wouldn't exist if there were no consumers. And 100% of the time, those drugs are coming to the United States to be consumed by Americans. They flee husbands who beat them, rape them, unbeholden to governments, insensitive to the needs of women in domestic violence relationships. For police who turn their backs on women because they think it's okay for a man to treat his wife like chattel. Women have become the new tool in the war, in modern warfare. Volunteering at Dilley is very difficult. Women come from the women at Dilley come from countries where the only lawyers they know work for their corrupt government. These women have known little kindness. All they've known in the streets of their home countries is violence for most of their lives. And then they come to the United States to be treated the way they've been treated since the day of their detention. I gotta tell you, it's been 15 years, almost 15 years since I graduated from law school. And at any given time, something like 70 to 75% of my clients are all asylum seekers, and it still surprises me to this day, the reality of what's going on at Dilley. In the first 72 hours that I was there, you could take all the stories that I heard in the last 15 years and squeeze them into those 72 hours. And that's how horrific their lives are, one at a time. I always like to say that my mission in life is to save the world one person at a time. The first day that I was there, I went to court and I attended 4 bond hearings, and I won bond for 4 families, freeing 4 families. I thought it was so wonderful that I went to the local grocery store, which is not more than the size of a 7-Eleven, and I got a bottle of champagne and some snacks to share with my fellow volunteers that evening. And the cashier, when she saw what I was buying, she said, "Wow, it looks like you're having a party." And I said, "As a matter of fact, I am. I'm celebrating because I'm volunteering at this detention center up the street. I don't know if you know about this place." Not knowing that everybody in town, is such a small town, everybody in town knows about it. I told her that I had won freedom for 4 families, and she was so overwhelmed by what I did that on her small, what I can imagine is a small salary there at a small convenience store in a small town, when hearing what I had done that day, she said, "You know what? It's on me." And she paid for our champagne and our snacks that evening. It's stories like that that make me want to go back. And not only that, but I remember the look in those women's eyes, the look in the eyes of the children that I saw on a day in, day out basis, because it's no joke. We got there at 7 a.m. and sometimes we didn't leave till 7 p.m. And it was not 1 minute, it was just back to back, one family after another that we were seeing. And their eyes, I just can't forget the eyes and the silence, the lack of laughter. You got to imagine a triple wide trailer filled with women and children. Some of them have only 1 child, some 2, 3 children. Can you imagine carrying that child across several borders and under grueling circumstances, walking, riding a bus or a car, going through bushes, mountains, rivers, streams, swimming, sometimes when you don't know how to swim, hiding from not only our border on Customs Border Patrol, but the Customs and Border Patrol of several countries. If you're coming from El Salvador, you got to cross through Honduras and Guatemala, and then the Mexican border with Guatemala, and then the U.S.-Mexican border. These women are resilient, most courageous women that I've ever met in my life. And then their children, the silence of those children. I mean, if you've ever been in any daycare, any playground in the United States, above the din of the noise of having more than 3 or 4 kids in a room, what you will always remember is the laughter and the giggling that more than 2 or 3 kids will naturally do in this room that we converted into. It's usually a visiting room that we converted into a legal clinic. There was no laughter. And I pause because I'm getting teary-eyed, but I pause as a dramatic pause. There was no laughter in a room full of women and children. And that's the one thing that I'll take back with me. That's the one thing that is bringing me to make the trip again. I will be going back with your help and support. I thank you for the support that you gave me for this last trip. I ask for your help again to help me make this trip again, because there is still a need there until that place is shut down, until every family is out of there. It's only through people like me, with the help like people like you, that we're going to be able to get it shut down. Thank you.